Later in business, Cuts International demands that government urgently addresses ECG's inefficiencies as President John Mahama signs the energy sector levy bill into law.
And in news from elsewhere, Chad says it is suspending the issuance of visas to U.S. citizens in revenge against Trump's travel ban.
We're live around the world on 3news.com. That's our website. We're also streaming on Facebook, and the best part is that you can be part of the show. Let's hear what you make of the stories we have for you tonight.
Quote, strike is not what will resolve this issue, unquote. Those were the words of Health Minister Kwabena Mintah Akwando as he taught 3 major health facilities in the Greater Accra region, assessing the impact of the ongoing strike by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Overwhelmed by the scale of disruption, the minister is pleading with the striking nurses and midwives to put patients first and return to work as efforts are made to find an amicable solution.
The minister's first stop was the emergency unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, where he interacted with the unit's head. Only a handful of staff were seen attending to its patients, a sharp contrast to usual operations. He then proceeded to the pediatric unit to evaluate the effect of the strike on care delivery to children. At each stop, the minister appealed directly to nurses and midwives to return to post, reiterating that industrial action would not offer a substantial solution.
Our doors are open and to continue to be opened. And in fact, to tell you, since I came to the office, they themselves, they know the effort I have put in place to resolve other complicated issues with them. This is not the first since I came to the office. So I am committed and ever ready to think through that, even if it has to be unofficial, and I go beyond even my official duties to assist the leadership to maintain and to make sure that there's no tension at their front. This is what I'm committed in doing.
A tour continued at the Lekma Hospital, where the minister witnessed similar scenes of limited staffing and disrupted services. His final stop was at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, where he urged in-ward staff to remain calm and continue prioritizing patient care amid challenges.
The nurses should listen to the plea of the ordinary Ghanaians and listen to the plea of all of us to come back to work to save lives. Whatever it is, we can assure them that when we sit around the table, we'll find solutions to those challenges.
In wrapping up with the tour, the minister refuted claims that the ministry is attempting to intimidate striking nurses through the National Labour Commission, insisting that ongoing engagements aim at resolving the matter in good faith. Godwin Asideba, TV3.
Let's connect with General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, Dr. David Tinkran Chum. Doc, good evening to you and thank you for joining us on News 360. You heard what the minister said. He said you should consider the plight of the patients and return to work. How do you respond to that?
Good evening and good evening to your viewers. It's a good call. It makes sense. But to what extent does it resolve the impasse? I must say that we feel very disrespected, okay? And all the time, when an issue comes up, look at the patients. We've been looking at patients since 1960. And nurses and midwives go home as paupers. We will not fail this generation and the next generation of nurses and midwives. We are asking for something simple. We have negotiated for a condition of service. It is a collective agreement, and by the labor law, it's very clear. It's binding on the employer. All what the employer needs to do is to implement it. So there is nothing like come to the table and say, there is nothing like renegotiations. And we have said it copiously that our collective agreement is not subject to renegotiations. That said, the condition of service is a living document. It has an expiry date of 2 years. We have already done 1 year out of it. Not a penny, a dime had been paid out of it. Of course, we were also complicit up to some point. I don't fault the employer entirely. But I think that 5 months is good time enough for the finance minister to approve that binding document that I'm referring to, known as collective agreement. If you are negotiating, it's a different thing altogether. We have finished with the negotiations. It's been signed, sealed, and delivered. What is left is implementation. So all what we are asking, I'm saying that our request is a very simple ask. It's not too difficult. What I want Ghanaians to know is that this is very unfortunate. This is very painful. My heart aches. We shouldn't have gotten to this far. But because of the intransigent posturing of the employer and the tactics, I don't want to use certain words, those old-fashioned tactics, let's try and confuse, sow a seed of discord amongst their leaders and see if we can play them against each other. They succeeded in getting some few breakaway groups, and they thought that the members of those groups are not okay. They are very much alive and well. And they know that when they go on retirement, they will go home as individuals. So they are fighting for their rights. And for that matter, they have defiled the orders of their leaders. I thank all those nurses and midwives who have placed their future ahead of any inclination of any sort. And what we are asking is that they should approve the condition of service for us, and we will come. Look, successive administrations, when nurses speak up, they will not look at the content. They will not avert their minds to what we're talking about. They will quickly rush the Labour Commission, seek an injunction. And it's been the tactic. We are ever ready to go to the longest haul.
Doc, I can feel your level of frustration, but could you at least consider meeting with government to at least look at the implementation of the final agreement, the roadmap at least, not just to negotiate?
If the document has not been approved for implementation, what is the point in meeting anybody? You can't put the cart before the horse. Let me walk you through how these are done. This is not the first time we have negotiated a condition of service. And to other unions, they will tell you, after the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission that leads government team to negotiate with the unions, have completed their job, more often than not, the government team consists of the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission as the lead, Ministry of Finance, the sector ministry, so dependent. In our case, the health ministry, and sometimes the employment ministry. After that is done, it is signed by all the parties involved in the negotiations. And then it is forwarded to the Ministry of Finance by the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission. Before the condition of service will be signed, it will be costed. So it is known the financial implications thereof. And then the Ministry of Finance will just give an approval to Controller Accountant General for those monetary aspects to be worked on and paid. And for instance, if there are other non-monetary, it goes to the sector ministry and its agencies for implementation. We've gone through this route several times. I don't see why somebody should tell me that after a condition of service has been approved and it has become a binding document known as collective agreement, people must come and sit down again and do what with it? We are asking for something simple. We are appealing to the employer. As I said, we don't deal with government. And that's why we are still relevant since 1960. We are a political organization. We know that government will come and go, so we deal with the employer. The employer does not change. If you go to the Ministry of Health today, apart from my good friend, Honorable Mita Akando, who is a political head, the system is there. All the people that we negotiated with are there. Go to Ministry of Finance, apart from the sector minister. All the technocrats, the key technocrats that we went through this process with are there. So what is new?
Right.
If they need any briefing, they should get it from their people. It's not a meeting with David Tinkrai or Perpetual Forampo or any other person that will bring their minds to whatever was discussed.
Right. Doctor, we hope that you are able to find a resolution soon because the patients are the one bearing the brunt. Thank you so much for joining us on News 360. Dr. David Tinkran is the General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association.
In a related development, the National Labour Commission has taken legal action to halt the ongoing strike by nurses and midwives across the country. A court has granted an interlocutory injunction ordering the leadership of the Nurses and Midwives Association to immediately suspend their strike. The union had planned a full withdrawal of service starting Monday, June 9, which would have affected all emergency care and treatment services nationwide. They are therefore demanding the immediate implementation of their conditions of service. And like you heard the General Secretary indicate, nothing is going to bar them from continuing with their strike unless the full implementation of the conditions of service which they have agreed upon with employer.
Away from that, the administrator of the Mineral Development Fund.
Part of what you are doing, we do not expect the foreigners to benefit from this. Part of what you are doing, we do not expect the foreigners to benefit from this. So we are pleading with the government to help us.
After several search, 7 Chinese were rounded up. They were accosted to the degraded site just to show them how they have ripped apart an entire forest.
To my biggest disappointment as a woman, as a Ghanaian, as a leader, would be to see these ones set free, and somebody will now be demanding that President John Dramani Mahama should give money to restore water bodies, to provide potable water. And you know, John Mahama...
My name is Lotte.
Your name is Lotte. Lotte, are you happy with what you're saying?
No.
You're not happy with what you're saying? So, if you're not happy with what you're saying, why will you continue to degrade the land?
Okay, I've walked barefoot before.
English...
all over, yes.
No English.
And I'm not ashamed.
All right, so interesting. You ask their name in English and they tell you, but you ask that simple question, are you happy with what you're saying? They said they do not understand English.
The operation almost turned south when gun-wielding thugs held the task force, including the administrator of the MDF, hostage. They started shooting. They want the Chinese suspect released, but the MDF task force was resolute. The thugs then led the team to the Nyineni District Police Command. Here, tension heightened. Eventually, the suspects were brought to the regional police headquarters for further interrogation.
Clearly, it's a very shocking development, and if you go to our website, 3news.com, you get the varied angles of how these people trying to do their work were held hostage in that regard. Well, coincidentally, today is World Environment Day, and in line with that, Deputy CEO of the Forestry Commission, Elikem Kotoko, has proposed establishing forest clubs in Ghana's 7 forest zones to educate younger generations on conservation. This initiative, he believes, will promote sustainable forest management and protect the country's natural resources. Meanwhile, Western Regional Minister Joseph Nelson has called on traditional and community leaders in mining areas to collaborate with authorities to identify illegal miners and participate in land restoration efforts. Irama Smith has more.
As Ghana champions Sustainable Development Goal 15, we are reminded of its critical mission, protecting, restoring and sustainably using terrestrial ecosystems. This goal is essential for the country's survival and prosperity. In the western region, illegal mining has ravaged forest reserves and ecosystems. To address this, the Western Regional Coordinating Council has partnered with security agencies to plant 100 royal palms at the naval base, with plans to plant 3,000 trees in the Subri Forest Reserve under the World Environment Day themed Restoring Degraded Landscapes. Western Regional Minister Joseph Nelson called on traditional and community leaders in mining areas to join forces against illegal mining, among others, to foster sustainable development and environmental stewardship.
In the Western region particularly, due to our good resources, small-scale miners have destroyed many areas, including forestry. These large tracts of land will require restoration and tree planting. I therefore invite stakeholders in the land restoration space, including miners, to assist the WRCC and its partners to restore all degraded lands in the Western region. I call on our chiefs, community leaders, and assembly members in mining communities to assist us in identifying persons who mine in their respective communities to undertake land restoration efforts in those communities.
Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, Elikem Kotoko, emphasized the need to establish forest clubs in Ghana's 7 forest zones. He believes this initiative will instill a culture of forest protection and preservation among younger generations, ensuring a sustainable future for Ghana's natural resources.
Let this moment serve as a catalyst for sustained action, one that moves beyond communication into commitment. It is with firm belief that I challenge us all to ensure we nurture these trees so they grow and blossom to serve the intended purpose. We at Forestry Commission believe that we should now begin to consider forest clubs, for instance, in the 7 major forest zones in this country.
And now, the National Intelligence Bureau, NIB, the Ghana Standard Authority, and the Food and Drugs Authority have conducted a field test of the $350 million worth of suspected cocaine bust in March this year. Stanley Nibler reports that the exercise was conducted in the presence of Her Ladyship Ruby Ayite, the suspects, and their counsel.
In March this year, TV3 had opportunity to access the storeroom of the National Intelligence Bureau, where some suspected cocaine with street value of $350 million had been kept after personnel from NIB intercepted the tipper truck conveying the consignment to Accra from the Western region. The consignment weighed 3,319.68 kilograms as high-purity cocaine, ranging between 50% and 70% purity. The consignment is believed to have entered the country via sea fishing vessels. 2 suspects, Isaac Kweku and Kenneth Kobina, were initially arrested and arraigned. Today, we are back at the same office, but this time to witness the field testing of the consignment, which has been presented but yet to be adopted into evidence in court. On Wednesday, June 4, 2025, the Accra Criminal Court 1, presided over by Her Ladyship Ruby Ayite, the suspects and their counsel, personnel from FDA, and Ghana Standard Authority were at the NIB headquarters to witness the field testing of the consignment in court hearing. Cobalt thiocyanate test was used, while cobalt thiocyanate reagent and hydrochloric acid were applied to a sample of the suspected cocaine. A blue result proves positive of the reaction. Samples were further subjected to test through the use of high-performance liquid chromatography and gas chromatography equipment for confirmation. The National Intelligence Bureau has since secured a court order to destroy the consignment on June 20, 2025 at Bondase. A third suspect, Malco Kudofia, has been nabbed. The suspects have been charged for the importation of drugs without lawful authority and engaging in prohibited narcotic business. Meanwhile, 3 other prime suspects, Kellyan Julian Mensah, Jefflin Kwajo Into, and Charles Hagan, are at large. Stanley Niblew, TV3 News, Accra.
Let's go to the courts now. And lawyer for the man exonerated on charges of conspiracy to rob in the famous Ataye robbery case says he will seek compensation for his client, Asante Yakubu, after serving over 2 decades in jail. The Court of Appeal acquitted and discharged the 47-year-old motorcycle repairer after noting that the evidence against him was not sufficient for his conviction. Lord Edwasare reports.
Because I'm very happy. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Anytime when I go there and visit him, I feel sad. I can't even eat well if I visit him. But today, it's a tears of joy. I'm very happy and I'm grateful.
Words of 22-year-old Jennifer Yakubu, the only daughter of exonerated man who was wrongfully convicted for conspiring to commit robbery with notorious armed robber Ayisha in 2002. She was only a month-old baby when she was separated from her 24-year-old father. Asante Yakubu, a mechanic, now 47 years old, was sentenced to 35 years in 2010 at age 24 after he was arrested on allegations of being an accomplice to notorious robber Ayisha, also known as Ayisha, in December 2002. His lawyer, George Benashaw, had argued that Asante Yakubu's only link to Ayisha was that most of the bikes used by the robbers in Ayisha's fraternity were repaired in his workshop. In court on Thursday, June 5, a 3-member panel of justices held that the prosecution handling the case failed to provide enough evidence to warrant the conviction and the sentence meted out to him. Justice Abuajetano, reading the judgment, indicated that Asante Yakubu's situation was a classic case of wrong association. He averred that it would be difficult for him to explain that he wasn't part of the gang of the notorious Ayisha if he was often seen entering the convict's abode, citing the adage, "Show me your friend and I'll show you your character." The Court of Appeal, however, held that evidence against him was not sufficient to warrant his conviction and granted Asante Yakubu's appeal. In his first interview as a free man, Asante Yakubu, now 47, was overcome with emotion.
I always pray to God to be exonerated from this wrongful conviction because I am innocent of the crimes attributed to me. I was only doing my job as a repairer. I will go and visit Ayisha because I harbor no ill feelings.
His lawyer, George Benashaw, said he will seek compensation for his client who was deprived of his productive years.
All those years have been wasted. He could have made a fortune and then been incarcerated with no reward. So there should be some massive, and after compensation, there should be some serious compensation. Money cannot make up for the time he's lost, but at least it can help him to start again.
Now a free man, Asante Yakubu will return home into the loving arms of his family. Among other things, he will now be reintegrated back into society. As a mechanic, he's got a lot more things to offer.
Let's shift our attention to a health that is of major concern to all Ghanaians. Now, we are told that Ghana has a pressing challenge of kidney failure. It is claiming lives, especially among children. Experts are sounding the alarm on human cost of a broken kidney system in the country and calling for urgent action to be taken.
Ghana is facing a growing health crisis as kidney-related diseases continue to claim lives and ravage families. This has been attributed largely to limited access to dialysis and high treatment costs. Health experts have warned that the increase in cases of kidney failure, particularly end-stage renal disease, are pushing many Ghanaians to the brink. For children, the situation is even more dire.
If you get 10 people who can actually pay for dialysis, there are 90 of them who will not. Even in children, it was pathetic because any child who had end-stage kidney disease died until late last year. Everybody died. If you come to wherever in Gawanoche, in a year, sometimes you can see 25, sometimes you can see as high as 40 children who get end-stage. And once it is end-stage, we just can't see them, they die. So it was wastage of life. When, if you have money, you can save them through dialysis.
Professor Samson Enchi added that Ghana's increasing exposure to heavy metals, especially in mining areas, is worsening the situation.
After we are talking about this obesity, hypertension, diabetes, what is also adding, we say that fueling the fire, has been what we call environmental contamination. Contamination with heavy metals, lead, mercury, cyanide. So when the thing about these heavy metals is that when it gets into our system, we can't excrete them, can't get out. So they build up and they damage your kidneys.
Health officials say while there is an urgent need to expand dialysis coverage, prevention must also be a central focus. Currently, Ghana lacks the legislative framework to support kidney transplants domestically, leaving many patients with no option but to seek expensive procedures abroad or face sudden deaths.
There are some legislations, laws that the parliament must pass that will support us to start the kidney transplants. The transplant is the definitive treatment. But for now, Ghana here, the transplant we are doing is all emergencies and doesn't have the backing. So we are appealing to government and the parliamentarians that if you're able to have the acts and then the policies are developed, they should support us to pass it so that people will be very bold to do the kidney transplant, and most of our people who have the kidney disease will be able to have their health.
To improve quality of care, regulatory bodies say work has begun.
There are a number of dialysis centers springing up because the demand is there. But most of them are not being manned by qualified healthcare professionals. And in about 2 weeks, we are going to go out and certify all dialysis, both in government health facilities and then private health facilities.
As kidney failure silently tightens its grip on the population, experts are calling for a national strategy rooted in prevention, affordability, and legislative backing. Safwa Bwani, TV3 News, Accra.
In some more news this evening, former President Akufo-Addo has declared his support for the National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving. The former president urged Ghanaians to embrace it, emphasizing the importance of national unity and stability.
Former President Akufo-Addo commended President John Mahama for spearheading the effort and bringing it to fruition. He, however, said he will not be able to attend the Thanksgiving service.
The country has never broken apart, and we have never ended up fighting each other because of politics or power. And that is a blessing for us. And we're continuing down that road. We're now in the Fourth Republic, which has given us on occasion 4 times to change governments peacefully. And it's now become what happened in December last year, shows that it is now part of the culture of our country that we should have these popular consultations that lead to peaceful transfers of power. So we have a lot to thank God for. And I want to commend the President for thinking of this initiative and for making it real. Unfortunately, before I received this letter in your presence here, I also made arrangements to be outside the country, largely for my doctors to have an extensive period to look at me. So I'll be leaving the country in the course of the next week, and I'll be away for over a month on that. So I will not be present.
Chairman of the Planning Committee, Elvis Efriye Ankara, acknowledged former President Akufo-Addo's support when the committee paid a courtesy call on him at his residence. He also revealed that Cardinal Apia Texan will be present to deliver the keynote message on July 1, 2025.
How do we renew our faith and our commitment to the country so that all the things that we desire or where we desire the country to be, we will all put our efforts to get there. Cardinal Texan has agreed to fly down from Rome to come and give us the liturgy on that day. Then from 12:30 to 2 p.m., we are gathering at the National Mosque, where the chief imam, together with all the other imams, will lead us in a time of Muslim service. It's going to happen in all the 16 regions and in all the districts, because we want that day, for once, we'll focus on Ghana. So we have sent out a strong communique that on that day, for once, there will be no party colors. National colors or white or celebratory. We want to focus on Ghana and what we can all do for Ghana.
The National Day of Thanksgiving is set to become an annual event uniting both Christians and Muslims across all 16 regions.
Still watching News360 on TV3. We'll take a quick break. We'll return with business, sports and entertainment. Do stay with us. Well, time now for business, and Michael joins us for the big debate about the new bill in town.
Yeah, exactly. And CAT International believes that efforts must be targeted at getting ECG to be efficient. That should be priority.
Okay. Give us more.
All right, hello there. Good evening. Welcome to the business segment here on News360. I am Michael Obodu. Now, consumer advocacy group CAT International is calling on government to urgently address inefficiencies within the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG.
We know from PURC own report that increase in tariff has not resulted in an increase in revenue to the ECG. There are a lot of fundamental problems grappling ECG and energy sector. Until we resolve those challenges, if you can even give them 10 cedis per liter, it won't solve any problem. I think that we need to fix the problem, and let's make sure that we get competent people to manage the energy sector. The energy sector is the key backbone of your economy. If you don't have energy, you have nothing.
The Bank of Ghana is introducing new measures aimed at tackling rising non-performing loans in the banking sector, including a plan to name willful defaulters in banks' audited financial statements. Speaking at a post-MPC engagement, Governor Dr. Johnson Esiama said the move is part of efforts to promote transparency, restore credit discipline, and ensure responsible lending.
We will soon issue a comprehensive directive to tackle persistently high non-performing loans across regulated financial institutions. We will consult with leadership of your association before the guidelines are issued. The measures will strengthen credit risk governance and require proof of effectiveness. The measures will enhance NPL reporting and disclosure with monthly submissions and public transparency. Then finally, the measures will restrict further credit to strategic or willful defaulters and share their identities with key financial sector oversight bodies. As part of this directive, banks will also be required to disclose blacklisted willful defaulters in their audited financial statements.
The International Monetary Fund IMF board is expected to meet this June 2025 to decide on a critical staff level agreement which would unlock Ghana's fifth tranche of $370 million. Chief Executive Officer of Dalex Finance, Joe Jackson, notes that securing this amount would further strengthen the cedi and good for business planning.
The more reserves we have, the more stable the cedi is going to be. $370 million is likely to come. All that makes for a stable cedi. All that makes for a lot more comfort for the average business person who can see the cedi being stable, who can see things staying the way they are, and is able to plan. And when you plug in the optimism, business optimism from January, then you have a situation where at this moment things look very stable with a positive outlook. We are not out of the woods yet. We haven't dealt with all the risks and challenges yet, and we just pray that the alignment that has brought us this far will stay the same way.
We'll bring you updates now from the currency and the commodities market. And that'll be all for the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. Up next is sports.
Intense. Fresh.
long-lasting. And strong, touch concentrated perfume. One touch is all you need.
To the sports segments here on News 360. My name is Bill Lishen. Now, the Black Queens have endured a patchy run in their recent outings. Ghana lost 1-0 to Ivory Coast on Tuesday in a preparatory match ahead of the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations tournament, a result which means the team has one win in their last 5 games. Ahead of July's continental showpiece, my colleague Akosue J analyzes Ghana's chances.
With some few weeks ahead of the Women's African Cup of Nations, I mean, it's concerning, especially after the Black Queens lost to Ivory Coast in their last friendly against them, because this was a team that had gotten themselves to a point where they were very competitive, a team that had an identity, and the former coach Nora Upla. It's just unfortunate that Kim Lasby-Okegrin coming in, he just has a target of taking us to the Women's African Cup of Nations, and we still very much have a memory of what Coach Nora Upla did with the team. So it sets the team in a very, very difficult position, because we know that in our group, we're playing against South Africa, who are the defending champions of the Women's African Cup of Nations. And they have been busy playing different kinds of matches, playing against different countries on different continents since 2022. Then we talk about Mali, who are sort of on our same level. When we play against Mali, it's also going to be a very difficult game. Tanzania are doing so well. They are playing friendlies against their Congo. They are doing well. And so when it comes to it as well, we would have a very difficult task playing against Tanzania. And so it sets the stage for the Black Queens to be very difficult. You should also take note that this is not the year where if you win or get into the semi-final, you are third or second or first, you get to go to the World Cup. This is not an AFCON we take to the World Cup, so it's good for us, but hopefully we will be able to have a good performance.
Now, following the acquisition of Liam Delap from Ipswich, Chelsea are looking to further bolster their squad. The Blues have reportedly shown significant interest in West Ham and Ghanaian midfielder Mohamed Kudus, while Liverpool are trying to ward off interest from Barcelona for their wide man Luis Diaz. There's more transfer updates in the following report.
Chelsea have been offered the chance to sign West Ham forward Mohamed Kudus. The Blues have reportedly not rejected the possibility and are considering whether to add the 24-year-old to their list of attacking targets. Victor Osimhen is in talks with Saudi Arabian side Al Hilal ahead of a possible summer transfer, according to the latest reports. They have reportedly submitted a bid worth 70 million euros to tempt the Napoli man. The Nigerian had a successful loan spell with Galatasaray, leading them to the Turkish league title. Liverpool have rejected an approach from Barcelona to speak to forward Luis Diaz. The Reds have reportedly told Barcelona that the Colombia international, one of Liverpool's key players in winning the Premier League title season, is not for sale. Manchester City have agreed a deal in principle with Wolverhampton Wanderers to sign Ryan Ait-Nouri. The Algerian international is expected to undergo a medical this weekend, with the transfer fee understood to be around the region of 40 million euros. Real Madrid are reportedly closing in on signing Franco Mastantuono from River Plate, and newly appointed manager Xabi Alonso has called up the 17-year-old to convince him. Madrid will have to match the 45 million euros release clause in his contract, but it appears he is on his way to the Spanish capital.
Now, some updates from the Nations League semi-final. Spain are currently leading France in the second semi-final by 2-0, and it's half-time. But, of course, if the results stay this way, they would qualify to the final and will be facing Portugal and Cristiano. Ended Iga Swiatek's bid for a fourth straight French Open title as the world number one powered her way to a maiden Roland Garros final on Thursday. 26 matches with a 7-6, 7-1, 4-6, 6-0 success, and will face second seed Coco Gauff on Saturday for the title. Now, Gauff, who was a runner-up to Swiatek in 2022, won 6-1, 6-2 against world number 361 Boysen, who was appearing in their first Grand Slam main draw. The world number 2 will bid for her second Grand Slam title in Paris, having first triumphed at the 2023 US Open, where she beat Sabalenka in 3 sets. The two have played each other on 4 occasions since then, each winning twice, and Saturday's championship will be their 11th career meeting. Now, here are reactions from Sabalenka and also Coco Gauff. But we would be bringing the reactions in later bulletins. And that's it, the end for sports here on News 360. My name is Billy Shen. Entertainment will be coming up next.
New segment is brought to you by GTP Lifestyle, powered by 3 Entertainment.
In entertainment news this evening, Nigerian Afropop star and songwriter Mayokun has called for increased collaboration among African artists to help amplify and promote Afro sounds globally. He spoke to Owusu-Orai.
Baby, I go take care of you, passing on it. Are you getting? Are you getting?
The versatile Nigerian singer Mayokun encouraged collaboration among African artists, emphasizing the significance of collective efforts in propelling African music onto the global stage.
Yeah, I believe like musically, of course, Ghana is up there when it comes to music. So when we bring our Afro beats from our side of the world, which is Nigeria, and we mix it with the high life of Ghana, we can create something beautiful. I've done it a couple, 3-4 times, and I like it.
So you think collaboration is the way to go?
Yeah, of course. Collaboration is the future.
According to the Mama hitmaker, the move is also necessary for individual artists to expand their reach. The Nigerian Afropop sensation shared his thought on the assertion that Ghana is the gateway to music in Africa.
How important is our space to a talent like yourself coming from Nigeria and all of that?
I've always said Ghana has always been important to me from the get-go, like when I started my career. Like my first university tour was in Ghana. One of my most viewed videos is a song I collaborated with a Ghanaian. One of my breakthrough singles was first blew up in Ghana. So for me, bridging the gap will only happen if we collaborate more and push ourselves more. So,
Mayokun is currently on a media tour in Ghana, promoting his latest album, Still the Mayor.
12 songs, 5 collaborations. I have 2 Ghanaians on the project. I have King Promise and I have Olive the Boys.
Girl, I love you. Girl, I wanna love you well.
Also, Ghanaian music star Jackie has earned a coveted spot on the 2025 Forbes Africa 30 Under 30 list, a recognition that celebrates young leaders and trailblazers across the continent. Known for her soulful voice and unique sound, Jackie has made a remarkable impact on the entertainment industry, representing Ghana on global stages and inspiring a new generation of African artists.
Time now for international news.
Chad says it is suspending all visas to U.S. citizens as a matter of reciprocity after learning that it is one of a dozen countries whose nationals are banned from traveling to the U.S. President Mahamat Idris Deby Itno, in a Facebook post on Thursday, wrote, Chad has neither plans to offer nor billions of dollars to give, but Chad has its dignity and pride. Africa is the continent worst affected by the travel ban announced by U.S. President Donald Trump, with 7 of the 12 countries on the list. It is set to come into effect on Monday. The order prohibits people from Chad, Congo-Brazzaville, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Libya, Somalia and Sudan, as well as Afghanistan, Myanmar, Haiti, Iran and Yemen from entering the U.S. In addition, there will be travel restrictions on nationals of Burundi, Sierra Leone, Togo, Cuba, Laos, Turkmenistan and Venezuela. They will no longer be able to travel to the U.S. on certain visas. China and the United States have agreed to hold more trade talks in hopes of breaking an impasse over tariffs and global supplies of rare earth minerals. President Trump said in a post on Truth Social that his call with Xi Jinping, China's top leader, had lasted for around an hour and a half and had focused entirely on the trade relationship between the two nations.
And that's how we bring the bulletin to an end. Thank you so much for watching. I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey.
And I'm Ayisha Yakubu. Have a good evening.